Oh, the old.
Oh, gotcha. So, yeah.
Across the street. Yeah, it is. Well, we have.
Seriously young, you couldn't even have been. Well, you could have been, but not at the moment.
But I do remember that being up before.
Oh, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our City Council work session here on Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Of course, we're here in the council chambers, calling the meeting officially to order. Angie, the roll call, please.
Here.
Dye.
Here.
Bull.
Here.
Lucas.
Here.
Garrett.
Here.
Landers.
Here.
Richter.
Here.
McNeil.
Here. Thank you. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of the State of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the council chambers. No formal vote or action will be taken at this meeting. I repeat, no formal vote or action will be taken at this meeting. We will have a presentation by Premier Energy regarding a proposed solar project. There is information up on the screens, and they'll be running a PowerPoint during this presentation. Excuse me. And we will conclude this presentation no later than 5:25. So you have until then. Please come to the mic, introduce yourself, and proceed with the presentation, please.
Good afternoon, everybody, and everybody back here. My name is Derek Apfel. I am the managing member of Premier Energy. Myself and a couple other partners got this stuff going a few years ago. And we first of all want to thank you all for being here. Seeing the whole council here and everybody together is nice, with nobody missing on purpose just because we're going to talk. I appreciate that. Thank you. Jeff Coyle here and Clint Bockelman are with me, and they are going to go through the presentation with you. And we're going to start off with Jeff Coyle taking over and kind of going through line by line, number by number, this and that. I'm kidding. He's just going to go through and tell you what we're doing, what's going on. So again, thanks for having us. I shouldn't say this out loud, but Grand Island Link and all this, and you drive into North Platte, well done on everything you've done. I know Gary's been a big part of this. You've done well. This is a good town. The new stuff, the stuff that's coming, everything else, it's a cool place to be. So we appreciate your time very much.
Thank you. Gentlemen of the City Council, can you hear me? Should I lift this? Okay. Derek is from Grand Island, and I actually heard him use the word jealous in the context of North Platte today in comparison to Grand Island. I'm the chief project developer for Premier Energy. We are a renewable energy and other energy project developer. Thank you. Based in Grand Island. We work primarily with electric utilities in Nebraska, developing solar energy projects, solar energy storage projects, and we're also exploring natural gas projects that we're working with Loop Valley's Rural Public Power District, South Central Public Power District, the Midwest Electric Cooperative Corporation in Grant. Our closest project to you, other than this one, is over in Paxton, and also projects for them outside of Grant and north of Brule, and another one hopefully in Grayton. So just quickly, the things we're going to go through today, we'll talk about why solar might make sense for the city, how it would affect your electric purchases, just what the system is that we're proposing, where it would be located, what the economics would look like, and the city's options with it. And should be lots of time for questions. So, starting with why solar, why would we want to bring something to you? The benefits of the solar are threefold. One is protection against rate increases from NPPD. That some of the utilities we work with say that the solar project isn't going to bring down, people's electric bills tomorrow, but it's going to insulate you against rate increases going forward. That there's no fuel costs, you'll have a fixed cost, and you'll be having to, as NPPD's rates go up, your purchases will not go up. The biggest reason that we're here is new business attraction, that as the chamber is talking to potential businesses to come to North Platte and Lincoln County more broadly, those businesses are often very, very interested in being powered by renewable energy. And to have 5 megawatts of solar projects and the renewable energy credits in your pocket, it's something that you can offer a new business and say, we have solar here and we've been waiting for you to come, and you're welcome to have these renewable energy credits, or however you want to phrase it. Maybe you sell them, I don't know. But it's a real thing. And then we'd only be having this conversation if this made financial sense for the city. So this next sheet is a little technical. It breaks down how this system would save the city money. And what it would do is save you money on your power purchases from NPPD. And just like your homes and businesses, the city gets a monthly electric bill too. It gets it from NPPD, and their rate has two parts to it. That there's an energy part, like a residential bill, and that's like 2.7 cents per kilowatt hour. And then they also pay something called demand, and that's hefty. That's $11,000 to $15,000 per megawatt per month. And so you have a sense of what a megawatt is. The new sustainable beef plant is about 6 megawatts of load. So, they're paying about the city is paying about $75,000 a month to NPPD for the demand charge associated with sustainable beef. So give you a sense of, yeah, that's material. And that demand charge is based on the single hour per month, a single hour per month. In summer, it's your highest months, and then in the other months, in the non-summer months, it's NPPD's highest months, or highest, I shouldn't say months, I mean highest hour in the summer and non-summer. And then the chart shows you how much the solar would offset your demand and energy charges. So going across January, the hour that NPPD looks at is the one that ends at 9 a.m. and it was technically January 21st, 2024. And if you had a solar system installed during that, at that time, it would have saved you, we project, 0.2 megawatts. And the whole month of January, the system would produce, so it would save you 460,000 kilowatts. And that demand savings was worth 2,000, and the energy saving is worth 16,000. So if you had the solar system, we believe that you would have saved 18,000. And our premiers worked very hard with your electrical department, especially Boyd and Elliott, to really make sure we're understanding the peak hour production well. And what we ended up doing was taking that day, January 21st, and then averaging the projected solar production of 5 days, January 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So if our model was doing something either high or low on that day, it would get smoothed out. So we're pretty comfortable with those numbers. And over the course of the year, it'll save you over $750,000 a year, and that's at today's rates. We'll have lots of time for questions at the end, but please feel free to stop me as we go if you'd like. The solar system that we're looking at would be a little over 10,000 solar panels. It would be what's called a single axis tracking racker. So it tilts over the course of the day so that in the morning it's facing east, in the late afternoon it's facing west, and then straight up at midday. And that enables us to catch those early morning peaks and those late afternoon peaks. There'll be 25 inverters. The picture on the left shows inverters and some solar panels, and then the picture on the right shows some single axis, just rows of panels that, there's a motor that turns a bunch of rows together at one time. That's how that works. The system would be putting 5 megawatts into the grid, so offsetting your purchases by as much as 5 megawatts at full output. And then there would be 6 megawatts of solar panels. The economics are good enough that we increase the number of solar panels to maximize your savings. In terms of where the system would go, there's a 37-acre parcel at the intersection of State Farm Road and Victoria Lane that the city has made, has been part of probably conversations that's come before the commission for a long time. And solar is, we think it's an ideal solar site. There's one neighbor who would be affected, but we're in conversations with him. And there's some things we can do that would enable us to work with him that he was pretty pleased with. And there's other uses of that land that have been proposed, and he would definitely prefer solar over some of those other uses. The parcel is 37 acres. And so there would be room that the city could, might be able to put some municipal facilities out there as well. And there's also room along the southern edge of State Farm Road for some commercial infrastructure. The project economics, it's the system size, like I said, is 6,000 kilowatts DC, 5,000 kilowatts AC. We took degradation of the solar panels into account. We took NPPD rate escalation into account, and then an O&M inflation rate into account. And the installed cost is 13. This is an indicative number. This isn't final. There's not construction financing in this, for example. And as numbers go up and down, your number could go up and down too. 13,678,000 is the indicative cost today. And then the next line, the less ITC, is important, that there is still a federal investment tax credit that's in place, and it's really beneficial for municipal utilities because you don't pay taxes. And so the IRS would simply send you a check for 30% or 40 or 50, depending on what you do, of the cost of the system. So that ITC that's shown is just the base 30% investment tax credit. So you would be getting, the spring after it enters commercial operation, you would be getting a check of $4 million from the IRS if you owned the system. And so that is a net installed cost of $9.5 million. And the annual savings of $750,000, and then operating expenses year one at $128,000, with lifetime net savings of $9.5 million.
So is this the investment that we would put in, or is this your investment that you're putting into this?
We could either do it where the city would make that investment of after the investment tax rate at $9.5 million, or you could enter into a power purchase agreement. But you'll see that for us to make use of, we can't make as efficient use of the ITC as you can, and our system owner would have to have a return on their money. And so this cost is under 5 cents per kilowatt hour over the life of the project for you, including both the operating expenses and the buying the system. And it's over 8 cents per kilowatt hour with a PPA. Yes.
What's the expected life expectancy of this system?
As a whole, about 40 years. And that's the life of the solar panels. And in 40 years, we expect they're still going to be producing 70% of what they started with. And that's considered end of life for the solar panels. The inverters will need to be replaced a couple times. They have about a 15-year life. And then the racking should last for the 40 years also.
So your inverters, is that figured into your operating
Yes,
costs?
yeah, yeah.
And I may not be understanding your numbers here correctly.
Sure.
At the very bottom line, you got net savings of a bracketed $9,574,000.
Right, that's the initial system cost.
And far to the right, it looks like we have a net savings of $9,523,000.
That is, yeah, and that is, if you take the annual savings total of 23 million, subtract from that 9.5 million for the cost of the system, 4.1 million for the operating expenses. The net of that is 9.53.
Say that again, please.
Sure. So we project it'll save you $23 million over its life. And there's 9.5 million for the system cost and 4.1 million for operating costs. And so the net, so 23 million less 9.5 million less 4 million is 9.5 million of savings for the city over 25 years.
Makes sense. You came to our last city council meeting and I mentioned hail.
Yes.
So who's responsible for the solar panels? If we choose to do this and purchase this, there are solar panels,
Sure.
right? So-
Yes.
Okay,
So-
so we insure them, I guess?
Yeah, this has got, of that 128,000 for operating expenses, 35,000 of that is for insurance. And that insurance covers $2.5 million of equipment replacement, and the panels are $2 million. So that would cover the cost of panel replacement.
So the panels are 2 million roughly
Yeah.
installation.
Uh-huh.
So that means the inverters are quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're being replaced every 15 years. Did you account for that? Because you have a 25-year lifespan and you're showing a 25-year net savings of 9.5 million. Are you including replacing the inverters
Yes.
at year 15?
Yeah, that is, the operating expenses is pretty much a reserve for inverter replacement and the insurance. Those are the two biggest costs.
So there's a 40-year life on these things. One of the problems in California, which is a really early adopter into solar,
Sure.
one of the problems they're running into is these panels are made up of heavy metals. When they reach their life expectancy, they sit in landfills and they leach those heavy metals right into the ground. What kind of mitigation, like what are we looking at for that
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
there's two different kinds of panels. There are flexible panels, and those have got a lot of heavy metals. And these that are more rigid, they're it's basically like like a calculator or a phone between glass with an aluminum frame. Yeah, there's just not as many heavy metals in those. And there's also a growing recycling industry, because there's, just like the phone company wants your phone back, it's because there's, enough gold in it to justify them recycling the precious metals. And there is, there's a fair bit of silver in the solar panels. And so there's going to be industry forming to capture those valuable heavy metals, if potentially, yeah. Yes.
So how are these operated? I presume there's some kind of a internet access to operate the system.
Yeah, I don't honestly know what gives the controllers on the racking the signal to, where that lives. There will be a dashboard so you can see production, and, if we're hired for some or all of the operation, we would be monitoring that to make sure that everything's performing properly.
I guess where I'm going with the question is, are these US made?
Um, probably not.
So how do we protect ourselves against, right now, from what I'm reading, China
Uh-huh.
has access to pretty much our entire grid.
Yes, that's an excellent question. That's the question was about China and protecting the grid. And this is something I paid a lot of attention to because when I was working with batteries, the Chinese battery company would give you an app so you could control power quality from your phone. And guess what? If you can control power quality, you can not just make it better, you can also make it worse. And if I can access it, from my sofa, they can access it from China too. And that definitely caught my eye. And the inverters on solar panels do not have that same accessibility. Someone would physically have to go into the inverters to make adjustments of that kind to the power quality. I checked on that.
How do you isolate that from made in China? How do you know that is in there? I guess that's the question.
That's a good question. There will be cybersecurity protocols that, you as the operators or we as the operators would have to follow. But there is definitely an industry, industry is paying a lot of attention to cybersecurity and inverters.
So how high off the ground are these things? Are they low to the ground, clear up out of the ground where?
Yeah, I'll go back. So the midpoint, kind of the pivot point, is about head height. It's a little over 6 feet. So I think if you're as tall as you look from here, it would be right about head height for you, a couple inches over my head.
So how do they do the maintenance around them mowing the?
To do the maintenance around them, if you just put them into what's wind stow mode, has them flat. And so if you put them into wind stow mode, then you could mow all around them. But the idea is to just put in buffalo grass or, a low growing native grass, short grass, prairie grasses, so that they don't, they're about 18 inches from the ground, like you see them here, angled fully to the east in this case. So that as long as your grasses don't grow 18 inches, then that won't be a problem. There's a lot of weeds out there right now. It's going to take a little while to get the weeds under control at that site. But once, in 5 years from now, once it's all fully established, then mowing should be minimal.
What about the amount of heat that's generated by these installations? I've read that there's a tremendous amount of heat that.
There's not. If you walk around them, you won't feel it's not uncomfortable. Even other than if it's 105 in North Platte, it's warm no matter what. But there's not a lot of heat coming off of these.
Does the atmospheric temperature, have much impact on the capability of generating power?
It does. It does. That they, just like a computer or your phone, they prefer cool weather to hot weather. And the performance does go down. You shouldn't run into it with the inverters. I think the inverters start derating at 122 degrees, and you're not going to get to that. But the panels do a little less performance when it's really hot.
So
And
in
that-
theory, they
that-
perform better in the winter than in the summer?
Yeah, well, they can. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the kilowatt hour production, the days are longer in summer. But, like in March, for a day that's quite a bit shorter than a summer day, and same thing like in April, you get almost as much production in April as you do in full-blown summer is August.
So in the springtime or in the fall,
Uh-huh.
we have dew, and then we have a dust storm.
Uh-huh.
Does somebody have to go out and clean these things? Do they clean themselves? How do you?
That's a good question. They don't clean themselves. They would have to be, someone would either have to go out and wash them down. That would come from looking at the dashboard and If you suspect that it's not performing what you think, what you should, then check and see how dirty they seem to be.
Cause you can go wash your car and the next day you got a film of dirt on it.
Right.
So I'm assuming they would do the same thing.
Or you can wash your car and it's dirtier than and it rains and it's dirtier
Yeah.
after the rain than before the rain. But in general, the solar industry doesn't pay too much attention to soiling. And that's also taken into consideration in the production model. That's there's about 25 line items that it reduces the production by, and that's one of them. Actually, I think there's a couple related to soiling. These produce solar energy from the front and the back. And so, there's the soiling on the front and the soiling on the back. That's probably why I'm thinking it's more than one line. So, yes.
On your map,
Uh-huh.
you got 10 solar and storage facilities, 4 utility solar. What's the oldest one on here?
Those are all entering construction now. They're all of those projects are projects that for utilities that got USDA PACE loans
Okay.
and hired us to develop the projects for them.
Is there any solar in Nebraska right now?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Quite a few hundred megawatts. There's a 7 megawatt DC system in Kearney that was installed in 2017, I think.
Okay. Was that for the data collection facility?
It's out by the
It's out
data center. It
near there.
preceded the data center. That was just a good spot on their network to put it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
That hasn't been brought in yet, for the data, or the solar has not been installed for the data center, the new data center that's supposed to be coming to Kearney.
Okay.
There's little over 7 megawatts in, excuse me, Norfolk, 7 in Kearney, almost 10 in Grand Island, 5, excuse me, 5 in Hastings. So it's everywhere.
Okay. And is it under the same type of model?
No, that's a great question. All of those systems are owned by third parties and have power purchase agreements
Okay.
with mostly NPPD.
Okay. So are there any of this type of model where a municipality would purchase the
Yeah.
solar panels and everything like we're
Right.
looking to do here, or are these all in the works?
That I know, well, like NMPP has trying to think who they operate around here. They've got a bunch of municipal utilities around the state, and they're putting in 30 megawatts that NMPP is going to own. So there'll be 30 megawatts of those, plus the dozen we're working on, by the end of next year.
Okay. So this is a relatively new concept
Yeah.
in the state.
They're in one of the things that the Biden administration passed to encourage renewable energy was this provision that allows municipal utilities and rural electric co-ops and nonprofits to get a check directly from the IRS for the tax credit.
Mhm.
And that changed everything. So prior to 2022, it didn't make any sense because you couldn't take advantage of the tax credits. And now that you can, it's, we're expecting NPPD is going to own several hundred megawatts of solar panels by 2028 or so.
Okay. You brought it up.
Yeah.
So roughly 10 months ago,
Mhm.
the Biden administration is not in charge anymore.
Yes.
Do you anticipate anything different under the Trump
Yes.
administration?
Yes. I'm going to jump ahead to the key dates. Senator Grassley, I just owe him my hat off. In the negotiations of the big, beautiful bill, he insisted that that as long as you started construction by July 5th, 2026, you would receive the full investment tax credit. And there was never a question of the direct pay being taken away. There was never a question of a low-income program being taken away. There was never a question of a 10% bonus for domestic content being taken away. And then in August, the Trump administration clarified what it meant to start construction. And, again, Senator Grassley crafted the bill in such a way that the definition of starting construction had to be consistent with what existed before. And also he was holding up Treasury appointments until the Trump administration agreed with him on that. So, and all of that, what that means for you is that we have a very, very reasonable time frame. By July 5th, 2026, we need to put 25 augers in the ground and that would qualify as starting construction. And then would have 4 years to complete the project. Yes.
What if the topography is not level?
That's a good question. Our racking, you can have up to 30% grade, which is like a pretty good ski hill, and still use the racking that we have.
I guess what I was thinking about, don't we own some property out where the south water tank is?
We have some property, I'm not sure exactly the acreage of that, we'd have to try to look into that.
That would be
Not-
property that probably wouldn't be used for any kind of development.
Right, that's on a north facing hill though, it's a little bit the wrong direction as far as what goes for solar, from my understanding.
And we also need to be near your sub-transmission lines so that we can put the power on.
Yeah, I don't know what there is for power lines out there, I have no idea.
How many acres are out of the transfer station? It's fairly rolling, but we have some acreage out there. Gotcha. But this, as Jeff just mentioned, where this is located right next to the hydro, and they have all those large transmission lines, it's really easy for connecting.
Yeah.
The interconnection right there. is
Yeah,
good.
when we started this process, we worked both with planning and zoning and electrical to identify 5 parcels that would work electrically and would seem beneficial from the eyes of planning and zoning.
So you skipped past a
Yeah.
slide, and I'm looking at that right now. So
This
help
one?
me understand, yeah, that one right there. Help me understand the business side
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
We own this, we purchased the system, I assume we purchased the land. We have all the responsibility, but then we buy the energy back from you?
No.
Okay.
That would be you would own the energy. You own the system, it's your energy that it generates.
Okay, city purchases energy generated.
Two separate. This is. city
Oh,
ownership,
okay,
this is
all
okay,
right, all
okay,
right.
We buy the power from them.
That makes sense. So if you do all the construction and you purchase it, then we buy from you. Is that
Well,
it?
actually, it's two different things. That there's 2 options on the table, and I apologize for not explaining this clearly. We haven't really talked about what the model is, the mechanism that would work for you all. One would be city ownership, where you would either buy the system from us turnkey once it's constructed, or, we would work together, you would, give money for buying the land and buying the equipment and everything like that. You'd probably save $500,000 to do it that way. And then, once that's done, then the system would be yours. You could hire us to operate it. Those guys, the electrical department could operate it. And you would, it's much less expensive for you that way. The system, your energy goes directly into your grid, serving your customers. And then you also would be the one who get the renewable energy credits. And so they would be yours to do what you wanted with, either to sell or to use as an economic development tool. And then it would be your insurance policy, so if it was to get wiped out by hail, it would be you filing the claim sort of thing. And if an inverter fails, you would have spares in your shop, and you would be the ones that would be swapping out that inverter. And you're the ones that would have a couple pallets of spare panels, so that, if there's panels which are bad, there's some on hand that can get replaced.
So walk me through the other side, though.
The other
Power
option would be how to date, or historically, how it's been done in Nebraska, which is that a third party owns the system and then sells the electricity to you. And, that way you don't have any risk, you don't have any responsibility, all you're doing is buying the energy that the system generates, which sounds great, except that it's a lot more expensive. It's, more than half again more expensive. That way, just for us to make the numbers work.
Do we have an interested third party that's thinking about this, or is that
Yeah.
just, we
Yeah.
do, okay, you guys or somebody else?
So there's a company that I think they own pension funds. How would you, they provide pension funds, and this sort of an investment is really appealing to pension funds because it's so.
Excuse me, would you stay close to the microphone?
sorry.
The folks at home can't hear you when
Oh.
you're standing over there, so.
Sorry, guys. Yes,
I guess I want to just get a clear, when I mentioned about cost to ratepayers wouldn't be immediate, is that correct? I want just want
Right.
to, there's going to be a reduction in rate or cost to the ratepayers with this system. When does that go into effect, or is it just going to be? That's why I'm trying to get.
yeah, no, that's a great question. Oops, going totally the wrong way here. So this is, I apologize that this is a little hard to read, but the system would be saving, starting at $750,000 a year for the city in rate in year one. Some of which, if you were to use that to pay down a bond, for example, then the first dozen years or so, half of its life would be going to, pay off that bond, and then you'd open it free and clear. Then you'd own it free and clear and have the second half of its life generating quite a bit of savings for the city. Or if you were to have a longer term, then, it would be, you'd be saving, several $400,000 a year every year starting now.
Okay, so essentially we're having to get a payback or get a return on our investment. Then
Right.
Pay it back.
Yes.
That's going to be the initial, so you,
Yeah.
okay, so and I understand there's a savings, but it's not going to be immediate. Is this more for a possible reserve? They were talking about increased energy need. Does it give us more capacity? Is that really the best purpose, or? I'm not arguing.
Yeah, no,
I just
yeah,
want to get clear in
right,
my
yeah,
mind. You know,
sure.
We do this, and then the ratepayers don't see a reduction in their electric.
Right, right. Well, what the city would do with those net savings is up to the, is up to the city. That there would be probably money that could be put into, other purposes or into a reserve. It depends how, that would be it's really a question for all of you, but this is how it would be, what you'd have to work with.
Is there the primary benefit is that there's maybe possible business or an industry would want to come into town, we would have this capacity. That's the other aspect.
Yeah, the actual capacity of your system doesn't increase really at all, because this is not something that, if if they add a second shift at Sustainable Beef from 2 to 10 p.m., this won't be generating any electricity at 10 o'clock at night. And so it wouldn't be providing reliable capacity like that.
Okay.
But it would be generating cost savings for you. And it's a hedge against rate increases going forward, and an economic development tool for attracting new businesses. So it provides, the economic development tool, it provides that while saving you money at the same time. That's sort of the bottom line. Yeah.
So just recently, we approved the extension and the rework of our agreement with MPPD as our wholesale provider. And I got to tell you, I'm a long ways from thinking any of this is a good idea. So just
Sure.
understand the view I'm coming from on this. And so if this is such a good idea, why wouldn't NPPD come in, work with our town, and install this infrastructure, and then sell us the power versus putting all this operating burden and risk and operational effort and all that on the city of North Platte?
Yeah, a couple things. One is, We are talking to NPPD about doing that both with their retail communities, where it's their system. And we're also talking to them about doing that at behind the meter at ethanol plants. So definitely, it makes sense for NPPD in those applications. Where it's a little harder here is they can't put their system on their generation on your system. That makes things complicated, that there would have to be a wheeling fee, that they would have to pay you for the privilege of generating their electricity here, if that makes sense. And that adds to the cost. That wouldn't be part of the cost in a retail community. So it's less advantageous for NPPD to do it here than it would be in Kearney, for example.
I mean, they do generate power in other ways right around in our community
Sure.
and sell it to us. So
Yeah.
that's, I don't know. It just seems like a tremendous operating risk and burden. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong with these. It could be the tax credit, it could be maintenance, it could be people don't like the way they look. I just don't understand why a community wants to spend this kind of investment on it unless you just feel that desire for the renewable energy is so strong that you're going to bring those employers with it. And so I just feel like this should be some kind of a collaboration with either a large employer or MPPD. So you guys know where I'm coming from. And again, I mean that with all due respect.
Yeah,
I
no,
want
that's
you to
great.
respond to my
Yeah, no.
concerns because you're way more
I'm glad
educated
you're
on this
speaking
than I
up.
am.
Yeah. Much rather have you share them than keep them to yourself. And I love the idea. We were out at Sustainable Beef today, and Mr. Olson shared the story of how Walmart became a partner
Microphone,
immediately,
microphone,
and that was one of the reasons
Hey.
that,
microphone.
Okay.
Get near the microphone.
yeah,
Thank you.
that was, this really great project for the city of North Platte happened because a business partner stepped up. And, can we find someone to buy those renewable energy credits? So, they're going somewhere right away. And what role would they take in this? If we were to do something like that, you don't have to have an answer this minute. This is just a workshop, but I'd love to talk with you in the next month about what it is that you might work better from your perspective.
Well, it seemed to me, Ty, that if a business, let's say for instance, Sustainable Beef decided that they wanted to put in a solar system, they would own it.
Mm-hmm.
Any excess power could then be sold either to the city or to NPPD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do we really want to be in the power generation owning business as a city versus being a wholesale customer like we are today? And I understand the trends with the desire for renewable energy and green energy, and I do understand that some companies, and there again that wind can sail a little bit with the political vibes going on at that time and the incentives and whatnot. But I just think that that's something that city has to really think about. Are we geared up for maintenance and for reserving and $13 million, a lot of money. So anyway, those are just the concerns I've got.
Yeah. Well,
Excuse me,
Mhm.
when you looked at when's the payout on this? When would, given your numbers here, when would we be paid out?
I'm just shooting from the hip if it's saving 700,000, net saving $600,000 a year on 9.5 million, the net savings go up a little bit, so it would be probably in the 15-year rate. 12 to 15 years would be my guess.
The other question I have is, what about snow?
Yeah, when it's the systems do generate a little bit of heat internally that melts snow within a couple days. But yeah, I've seen the production records from systems where the snow, kept them from producing even on beautiful, glorious, sunny winter days.
Well, I'm not even thinking so much energy production, but just the sheer weight of the snow on the panel.
The racking of both the framing of the panels and the racking are both designed for those loads.
How many days of sunshine do we have in North Platte? Do you have any idea?
I'd be surprised if it's not 320.
Quick question on your spreadsheet, the NPPD rate escalation at 2%, is that figured at 2% annually?
Yes.
or-
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, each of those rates that are shown are annual. And we can provide you a Excel version of this if you'd like.
Little context, just a bigger picture, and kind of you were asking about, and it was mentioned behind the meter. So behind the meter, you've got that company that's using that power. So it's not going back on the grid. They're not selling it. We built a megawatt in Valmont for Valley Manufacturing, and in that's just 5 acres. The solar is just 1 megawatt. But when we were there for the ribbon cutting with the governor at that time, they were able to show on their bills they were saving between $8,000 and $9,000 a month in consumption, and so it was being offset there. And it's public information. NPPD is really trying to innovate. They're really looking at 2030 in last year's conferences of NPPD updates. You'd hear 2030 is the date that is scary, of where our capacity is diminished, tracking with the growth of the state of Nebraska. You have, there is a list that exists of corporations that have been waiting for several years to move their corporations to the state of Nebraska that are not allowed to move to the state of Nebraska because there's no capacity. And so one of the things that I look at having the agility to do this, and I installed hundreds and hundreds of megawatts on every JPMC Morgan campus in the United States of America, because the numbers worked. Number one, they needed green credits. Number two, they were consuming their own energy. And if a banker could pencil it out and there was enough incentive there, it works. So it might not be in the money that it's generating, right, of we finding a payoff date, but in the money that they're saving. So if there's $9,000 a month that they're not having to pay in power bills. And so there's a lot of agility that I'm experiencing, especially talking to the Garys, talking to economic developers across Nebraska, where they have companies submitting applications to move into their areas. And it's right now it's a no, because there's such a really crucial management of what our capacity is, what our usage is. And then you've got leaders like you, we're talking about a system that will be able to generate energy for 40 years. I don't know about you. I don't know where I'm going to be in 40 years. Probably not in this room, but we're talking a long play, right? And something that, again, we can't really predict unless SMRs come on the scene, and we got mini nukes, which is hot buttons of conversations. That's years out. We're very involved with the whole evolution of SMRs. We think it's a great concept, right? At this point, Canada's got a few. There's a few in Europe. And so we're watching that. The United States is watching that, because we're hitting a breaking point of where there's just no more capacity. And I look at what's going on in your town, and again, there's a number of innovative ways to be able to do this. If it's just for a corporation, this is where, if I were in, a Gary's position and had a corporation wanting to come to town, but NPPD is not approving that there's that capacity there. This is where, with some of our partners that we're working with, we can come in with 3 different redundancies of power generation. A portion can be supplied by NPPD, a portion can be through solar and batteries, a portion can be through natural gas. These are not fictitious solutions. Those are real solutions that we can bring to a corporation that's wanting to move into this area and then wanting to partner with local civil authorities that are overseeing this. And so for you, your question, one of my passionate bullet points is behind the meter. And I want to find some hard chasing, energy consuming, doesn't have to be a data. I'd rather not be a data center because they're such energy hogs, but it's inevitable with AI and with the trajectory of our technology. It's going to need to be fed. I love bringing in corporations into areas, especially like North Platte's, that we can come in and we can bring some alternative solutions that has a friendship of integrating with NPPD. Definitely our first right of refusal, somebody asked, would we have a third party interest in that? Was that you, Brad? I would rather, and this is just, you guys are the smartest ones in the room, especially with me at the microphone. I'm pretty confident at that. I would rather have a local ownership of this system than a group out of California owning your system. And they've negotiated a PPA with you. I'm a little bit more territorial and would like to keep it in Nebraska. And again, I know that there's a lot of variables of what if, and with our team, we've got over 40 years of solar experience that we've seen the growth in technology and infrastructure. And we've also got a lot of mileage in our rearview mirror of catastrophes that have happened. The glass on panels is getting to a place now where they've got a very confident hail rating. And they can go to, it was a 2-inch circumference hailstone that they're rated for. The wind rating is increasing every year with the technology and the evolution of that. And so there's a lot of things we were contending with several years ago that we're not having to with weather and just natural elements that are coming down. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, I don't want to cut anybody off, but you got about 4 minutes to finish your presentation. So do you have any other critical things you need to say?
Yeah, just take I made a list. I think we covered most of this. Yeah, I think we did cover, so we've got time for a couple more questions. Brian, Rod, Nick?
How many man hours do you think it would take to each month?
For the maintenance?
Yes.
Oh, maybe 5, half a day
5
for
hours.
someone.
In your operating expenses, did you put any cost in there for decommissioning?
No, because the value of the copper is worth about 5 times the cost of the decommissioning. It's profit. The reason that meth heads break into houses to take the copper is because it's really valuable, and that'll be the same when this gets decommissioned too.
So is that an issue?
There will be a fence, and it could have barbed wire around the top.
We have electricity too.
Built in.
Nick?
Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for about one more question. Anyone? Any last comment?
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, actually, next steps. Whoops. So, we would close. We're scheduled to close on the land purchase mid-January, so we definitely would want to come up with some decision by then, whether or not it's going to be a go. And then if at that point it's a go, we can construct it in 2026, and you could get the ITC payment in April of 2027.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you being here. We're officially ending the work session tonight. It is adjourned. We will reconvene as a city council at 5:30 as always.